Welcome everybody. It's great to see the audience today. We're going to really dive into a lot of cool stuff today. And as you can tell from the subject, finding a needle in the haystack. What does that mean? Well, we all got to go through this challenge of identifying that perfect person, not just in life, but obviously in the work environment. And that's what we're going to focus on today with David Brooks. We have David Brooks with us today from Job Science. And actually identifying what's really going to make a difference for an organization to find those perfect individuals to make a difference in their organization. So maybe we'll go through a little bit of introduction and then we'll dive into specifics of how to make that happen. And specifically, David?
So I'm David Brooks. I'm currently VP of Products at Job Science. Formerly, I was VP of Product Management at Salesforce.com for 9 years, from 2005 to 2014, where I was on the Force.com team. And just recently, I joined Job Science about a year ago to basically build a great application on top of the platform that I helped to build.
It's actually the fascinating part of it is because David and I worked together at Salesforce. My name's Ethan Alexander. I had a chance to start and run the mobile division at Salesforce back in the day. And I remember when David was putting together the developer components of this, the whole actual platform, and had to build applications on top of that platform. And today we see it everywhere around the world. It's really quite exceptional. And my background is actually doing a lot of work with Oktana and more specifically in just sort of that developer resource that kind of goes on in that environment to support all types of applications that need to be built on the platform. So if you actually might be considering any needs to have development teams for the UI, the UX, so any kind of front-end work, back-end work, full-stack development, obviously experts in the platform that we all know and love, Salesforce.com, we can help make that difference. And this is also a great collaboration with David's team to bring an application like this to fruition, to actually really make that difference. And specifically for your customers. I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about here, and providing them it's going to be fantastic that people can use and work with right within Salesforce. That's essentially what we're talking about, right, David?
That's right.
Perfect. Well, we'll get into some of those details, but give me a little more background, if you could, on Job Science.
So Job Science really was made a decision about 8 years ago to build a recruiting platform on top of the Force.com platform. Prior to me joining, actually, I was working with Job Science while I was at Salesforce. And what we do is really provide tools for the recruiters, both corporate recruiters, in normal recruiter in any corporation that has to hire, but also staffing companies. And staffing companies where you're doing not only permanent placement, but also temporary staffing. And so we provide the tools for business development individuals, people that are trying to get the deals for the staffing company and reach out and get the deals for the recruiting company. Recruitment automation. So if I'm a recruiter, I have a job spec of what the company is looking for, and I need to fill that with exactly the right candidate, which is the finding the needle in the haystack. I've got millions of people across the world that can actually do this job. Which is the perfect candidate for this particular job at this particular time? That's the recruiting part of it. Time scheduling and invoices. How do I collect time for the staffing companies? How do we schedule workers? Down to the point where you may have a need that is regulated. If you look at airline pilots or truck drivers or even nurses and doctors in hospitals, there are certain industries and certain occupations where you have to make sure that not only are they available, not only do they have the right background, but do they have the current skills and certifications that allow them to work in that job. And have they worked too long? If I've been on a 12-hour shift, maybe I'm mandated to take 4 hours between now and starting my next shift. So all of that is built into our platform. And since it's on the Salesforce platform, of course, we can use the analytics tools that are built right into Salesforce.com. And as a partner, I didn't have to write any of that.
Kind of a nice change of pace sometimes. I mean, if you look at the history of the way these types of operations were managed, paper, phone calls, relationships.
Excel spreadsheets, notepads,
yeah. So, and obviously one of the biggest challenges you mentioned, which I think is a very important one, is qualifications and availability. You'd be lucky to know that unless you had a tool to really manage all that stuff. So it's not making a difference. And this is across any type of organization, any type of vertical. We all have the same problems. But the great thing is the platform is there, the tools are there, and we can make a difference with that. So.
Right. A little bit more about Job Science. Yeah. We are a $12 million a year company, so we're a private company. $12 million is not a huge number in the revenue side, but it's enough to be a stable, steady state company. We're growing quite rapidly. In fact, 30 to 40% a year. We have customers, more than 630 customers across the world. We have a very large number of users, 40,000 users on the Salesforce platform, and a head count of about 50 employees in San Francisco, outside of Boston, in Londonderry, New Hampshire, and in London. We have a large office in London as well. So we're a global company.
I was curious. So obviously the App Exchange is big. Is that where most of the customers are finding you, or what?
We have a mix. In the beginning of the company, App Exchange was an important part of the marketing, and it still is an important part of the marketing of the product. But we also have an internal sales team. We generate leads for incoming. We also generate outbound sales as well. So it's a mix, like almost any other company out there.
And actually, one of the aspects when we were working on this project together is also a lot of referrals directly from your existing customer base, which I think is huge. And that's something, it's a great lesson for all types of companies out there, that if you build the right solution, people love it, they're going to share it. So get used to that and get ready for that, because that's probably the easiest sale you could ever do, customer success. And learning a lot about that here, obviously, this week at Dreamforce.
Yeah, the problem that we were trying to solve was this, and this is when I contacted Oktana for some help. I joined the company 11 months ago at the beginning of November in last year, and there was a legacy product, a legacy system that had already been built by previous generations of teams, and it was quite powerful, but it was also not very usable. The front end was actually not a very nice, easy to use front end. There was a lot of value in the back end that had been built, and a lot of value in what had been built on the Salesforce platform. But the UI was like a multicolored code. It had they used every color in the rainbow as part of the palette of the solution, and it was really just difficult. There was multiple screens. You can literally do anything in this application as long as you could actually find where to go to get it done. And so what we've really done was we took a look at reaching out to Oktana to help us, because of their front-end expertise and their usability and user experience expertise, to find the right combination of screens that would actually help us create a wonderful user experience to put together, to tie together all of the existing functionality that we had, and then take it to the next level after that.
It's a huge difference, because it's always a team effort. And the difference that we always find as we step into these projects is, where are your levels of expertise? What can your team deliver? And where can we step in? Because we don't want to actually duplicate those efforts. So it was sort of a nice combination of bringing in exactly what the Job Science and David's team needed to get this project done quickly, rapidly, efficiently, and also running the QA. I mean, when we looked at that beginning stage, we kind of knew what you wanted to do, but we sort of took it apart and then put together a bit of a process.
In fact, thank you for reminding me. Before this project actually started, the first engagement that we had with Oktana was to put together a QA automation package with Selenium, and we didn't have that really in job science when I joined, and I knew that before I got started, I wanted to make sure that we had the right kind of package put together.
It is critical, and it makes a difference, but we're also going to be honest. If you don't like that, we're going to break apart the application, and we're going to find out the quickest way and the best, most efficient way to get that done. So great work by the team on that one, and the results show it. So it took a bit of time to get these things done, but it does make a difference in the stages that we kind of get through here. So I mean, we've talked about some of these things, but maybe, there's some key aspects of it. We talked about the UI, the UX, obviously some of the back-end experience.
Right, so why did I choose Oktana, right? So the first thing was really that it was easy to engage. I knew Marco from Solari from previous projects when I was at Salesforce. He was working very closely with Salesforce on several of our projects, and so we had a relationship, so that helped. There was trust already.
Yes.
We knew that they had Salesforce expertise, because they were being hired by a lot of companies to do a lot of things on Salesforce for a long time. Having exact Salesforce experience is a lot different than just saying I have development experience, because developing on the Salesforce platform has its own set of challenges. There's a lot of benefits to it. Don't get me wrong. I helped to build the platform, so I'm a big fan. But it also means that if you don't have specific experience on the platform, then that experience doesn't count as far as the type of things that we wanted to do. So having Salesforce experience and App Cloud experience was really, really important. The next thing is I had two existing teams that we used for outsourcing, one in Belarus and the other one in China. And I got to tell you that those two time zones can really throw you for a loop, because the 11 hours of difference between here and Eastern Europe is just hard. You can't do daily stand-ups really and make those happen. But the great thing about Oktana is their team is in Uruguay, which is 5 hours, sometimes 4 hours ahead of here. And so we can do daily stand-ups in the afternoon and really are productive. Team is managed locally, so we always have the ability to increase our needs as we need it. And the other thing is that not only do they have amazing UI programmers and designers, but they have some user experience and usability experts on their team that was, in the case of the Sourcing Center that we'll show you in just a moment, was really key, because the whole project started with 1 week of intense work on the whiteboard with the usability engineer before we even started thinking about how we were going to program it.
Yeah, it meant, I mean, also back to your beginning days of building the platform, I also, because I was a part of it, certifications. So we have about 100 different developers on staff, all certified, have gone through the programs that you helped set up back in early day, just to make sure when you deliver something, you actually know what you're delivering, and those results happen timely, efficiently, and actually make a difference. So it's part of what we kind of grew up in, and do it right the first time. But then also be there. I agree. The time zone component makes a big difference. We also want to show those results much more rapidly, and your team is well organized. So it was easy to kind of step into the stages that we needed to really make that difference. So thank you to you, but it also, I think, comes down to the application, which I think we should start showing in just one more slide here after that.
Sure.
So give them the overview, though.
So the overview was, we had, as I said before, we had really deep and broad application capabilities, but the problem was they were dispersed throughout the product. And so the usability expert from Oktana came in and helped us to understand the user flow and what we wanted to do. And what we realized was that we could combine effectively 3 different pages that we formerly had with Visualforce together into a single console type application. And it kind of reminded me back in the Service Cloud. You remember the Service Cloud in the early days? You had cases, you had accounts, you had contacts, you had products, you had all of these different pieces, but they were all over the place. And so in a call center, it was really difficult for the call center agents to find what they needed, because they were constantly bouncing back and forth between pages. And so what we did was we said, hey, let's build a console. Let's put it together so that you can do what you need to do from one place and not have to go multiple steps to do it somewhere else. We thought about how the actors interacted with the applications. We defined who the actors were, which was a big step forward. We wanted to figure out how to access the information and to slice it, and then we re-architected the solution. The existing solution was a back end where everything was coming out of a Postgres database from data synced from Salesforce, but the UI was presented from there as well. And what that meant was we couldn't even come close to doing sharing rules. So if you wanted to maintain the sharing rules of Salesforce, how are you going to do that when everything is outside of Salesforce and being presented into a screen? So that was wrong. And so we re-architected that with the help of Oktana. We figured out how to take the back end and make it an API-driven back end, and then to take an Angular JavaScript Visualforce page to be the front end, and then to leverage all of the standard sharing models to do access control. And it was really the right solution, and you can tell when you get a solution right, when you get the architecture right on a Salesforce application, man, I wouldn't call it easy, but it is a lot easier when you get the architecture right than when you get it wrong. Because if you get that architecture wrong, you're fighting it every step of the way. And so one of the biggest decisions that we made with Oktana's help was, here's how we architect it for success, so that we've got the right people doing the right things in the right way. And that was really the key to the success, I think.
It's actually what goes back to the beginning statements we were talking about, just taking a look at the bigger picture, going through a little bit of QA, what do we really want to do, what's the objective here. We kind of forget humans are involved. And humans need a place to start, and then step 2, step 3 to walk through. So the more obvious you can make that, which is really what we did, is clean things up that were actually in place, but in the right order, and also in the right UI. Critical piece. And again, that's experience. We've done thousands of these types of implementations, development work, so we have an idea. We can advise and then collectively make the right decisions on that.
That's right. So what are you going to see? We're going to do a demo, and basically we have a database of candidates. So this is an application where over time a staffing company's real asset is to be able to import tons and tons of resumes, either from LinkedIn, from Monster, from career builders, from external boards. They have hosting their own job board, but they have a database of candidates. The challenge is I've got this job spec, and how am I actually going to find the right candidate for this particular job? And so let's, without further ado, pop over to this screen and show you.
We like demos. Good to see the stuff in action.
Yep, so what you see here is this console application, and let me take a tour around the application here. So we have two different modes that we're in. We have a Boolean mode and a job match mode. We'll show you the Boolean mode today because most people are familiar with it. It's what you do when you go into Google or in LinkedIn or anywhere else. We have the ability to search candidates or contacts. So we have two different types of screens. Candidates is all about finding a person for the job, but you've got business development people in your company that want to find the right companies, the right contacts at the right companies to sell. Mm-hmm. And so the same tool can be used for looking at generic contacts for your business partners. We also have the ability to add what's called shortlist, which are candidate pipelines, which are really a queue that I can save candidates into for further use, and job orders. So if I take a job and I post it on a board and the general public is able to apply to that job online, what you find is you have hundreds of applications, in some cases thousands of applications to the same job, and now you need to weed through the cats and dogs to find the real gems that are sitting there. And if you look at let's give you just a quick taste of what that would be. So if I wanted to find project managers, I can simply type in project manager. We'll go to the database, and we'll find all the product managers, and we will start highlighting product manager in this session. Now, I put it in quotes because I really did want project manager, I'm sorry. But I see here that I've got one guy that looks like project manager, but I got a couple of people here that look like they're not exact matches. So what's going on here? If I go in and I take a look at their skill sets, though, you'll see that their skills actually does have project manager as an exact match coming in there. So again, here's an opportunity to lift this up and to see exactly what their skills are. These are all the things that were on their resume that were recognized as skills and parsed into the database here. Okay, that's fine, but I'm looking in Paris. So I actually want to find some of these people that are in Paris. And now I found out that I actually have 3 people in Paris that are project managers in my database, so that's pretty cool. But I want to take a look at these guys and see. I've got 3 now. Let's take a look at their resumes. And this is the other real cool thing is that with this Angular UI now, the rest of the screen is kind of fixed, right? I'm still in this screen, but now I can go into what we call speed review, where I can look at these guys and look at their resumes and look at the details of what was put in there side by side. And I have this third one here that I hadn't looked at, which these are these 3. Now, this is one way to do it. If you've got LinkedIn Recruiter mode, you can turn on the LinkedIn mode. And I don't have LinkedIn Recruiter myself, but basically that will come in and look up this person on LinkedIn. If you have LinkedIn Recruiter, typically you have a code number on the candidate that links to the LinkedIn code number, and that allows you to see the up-to-the-minute profile in LinkedIn that this guy may have changed just this morning. Really, really important. As you see here on the right, Letitia LeConte actually did have a LinkedIn profile. and the demo gods are with us today. and so you can see what a LinkedIn profile looks like, and that's because I'm a LinkedIn recruiter. If you pay the fee on a monthly basis to LinkedIn, you'll have the access to this in real time. So not only can I see their resumes, but I can see their LinkedIn stuff as well.
And one of the things you mentioned earlier was like the sharing rules, being able to forward and adjust and kind of provide those to the different management teams.
Right, to make sure that if these contacts are actually in a private sharing mode, and in some cases our customers have multiple divisions
Yes.
in multiple countries, that we can make sure they're not seeing the things that they shouldn't see. I want to show you, we went through usability testing with this, and these things were all really welcome, but what we found out was we needed something slightly different, and I got to tell you, these guys came through. Within 1 week of making this request, this whole new view was put together so that I could actually come down my list and look at this, but not only look at CVs in LinkedIn like I already showed you, but what are the activities associated with this person? I've just got an email that just got sent to this person, and I'm able to actually show what the past activity was for this person, and if there were any pending activities, I would see those on the screen at the same time. So amazing, and I got to tell you, from the components that were already developed, the guys at Oktana built this particular view in less than 1 week. It was amazing.
That's excellent work, but it's also getting the right guidance and getting an idea of what's going to make a difference for the team as they're looking through this and actually make them much more sort of efficient in their own process, but also they enjoy it. And that was a big part of it, making sure that they felt like they were a part of this and giving them the right results much more rapidly.
So continuing on, that's the Boolean part of it. We also have filters, and so show you just a little bit here. If I go in and I say, you know what, I'm really looking for someone that has Java skills now. This is a new search, right? So I'm going to put the Java thing in there, and I'm going to do search, and I'm going to come back and find there's something like 29 individuals that have Java. But you know what? Let's look at JavaScript, because that's also something that's important to this particular situation, and I'm going to search on that. And it went from 29 down to 12. You know what? Why is that? Well, it's because I've selected all, so that I'm saying here are all of the skills that have to be in this particular candidate. Let's say any. Let's say these guys are roughly equivalent, and I can just say any, and now I run the search again, and now I'm back up to 29 because it's Java and JavaScript and any combination of those two. But you know what? There's a bunch of terms with Java that get put together quite a bit. And so I'm going to do this. I've actually created a list that I can get to called @Java. Here's that list. And basically that allows me to search for a large number of these skills at the same time. So I'm going to go and search now. And it's back at 28, but let me show you what I've actually included in this. So if I go and look at the list, and I go and find my Java, I'm searching for Java, JavaScript, Java Server Pages, Java 3D, and Java Architect all at the same time, and all I had to do was type in @Java, because that was a shortcut that I wanted to put together myself. So let me see if I can show you just one more thing here before we cut out. Suppose now I want the school's important, right? And I want to make sure that I've got people from, in this particular case, in Beijing. And I got to spell Beijing, B-E-I. Beijing Institute of Technology is a really good one. So I want to see Java guys at the Beijing Institute of Technology. And it looks like I've only got one of them, but that's okay. And now,
sometimes it's all you need.
so the other thing that you might want to do is, now that you found that, let's start taking a look at narrowing it down by salary. So I may say, what is their current salary? How much salary do they desire? Where are they located? I might come up here in the location, and I'm able to do a couple of things. I'm able to say a particular zip code, a particular city, the radius. So I can say, give me all of the candidates that fit these constraints that also live within 60 miles of downtown San Francisco, because I want to keep their commute down to 2 hours.
Well, especially when a lot of these organizations are dealing with hundreds, thousands, a crazy amount of records. So the idea of being able to be very focused and very specific. On
Right. So in
search.
fact, I've got 500 records in this demo account,
Which,
and,
yeah.
and in a real account, we've got customers with 1.5, 2 million resumes that they can search from. And so what they're really needing to do is to find all the way down to the perfect candidate. And so one last thing to show is that if I wanted to, I could create a short list. Or a pipeline. I can put some of these candidates that I find, add them to this list, or I can look at the jobs that are outstanding and find out how many candidates actually have applied to these jobs, and then further filter from there. So it's a big deal for our
I
customers.
really love when we put together these little quick view windows too, because it just sort of simplified their process.
That's right.
But it does make a difference in stepping into all those stuff. That's cool. No, it makes a difference to see it and kind of walk through that process. Everybody's a little bit different in those needs and requirements, but it's a collaboration, and that's sort of the way we approach it. And also working with a great team like David has, it's being able to put those milestones in place and actually continue to evolve, because we're not done. I mean, there's still more evolution you're putting
This
into
is
that
what I
application.
showed you was the build from Tuesday of this week, and we're sitting here on Thursday. So I was showing you unreleased code, which is why I was being a little bit careful about what I typed. And we're planning to have this complete, feature complete and code complete by the end of October to release in the beginning of November this year. But to just look at trust is critical. The fact that Oktana is in Uruguay and I can talk to them on a daily basis. As a matter of not only daily basis, but I get, like I said, I as soon as I popped up on air trying to prepare for this, I got one of my program managers from Oktana contacted me and tried to get my attention right away. But having them in the same time zone and is amazing. Having really long-term Salesforce expertise, and then nowadays people that have really long-term Salesforce expertise also know Lightning, and they know the reality of Lightning, where it is today, and what you can do today, and what you can't do today, and what you shouldn't try to do today. That's very, very important. And again, one last time, beat the horse to death. If you get the architecture right, it'll smooth the way for everything else, and the only way you're going to do that is if you're working with a team of people that actually have the experience with Salesforce over time.
Well, I think thank you. It's good to hear these things, but it's also great to work with amazing partners like yourself. And we're here to help. I mean, that does make a difference for all of us. So if there are different things that we can do or that Job Science can provide, please reach out to us. I don't know if there's any questions or we have a couple questions. Yeah, microphone is on. Go for it.
Thanks for your presentation. One of the questions I had was around your roadmap and how you plan to support other countries in different languages.
Sure. We didn't really, I mean, it should have come through a little bit in there that we have Japanese kanji support, katakana support, hiragami support. We have all of the languages that Salesforce supports are available. In fact, one of the things working with Oktana that they keep us honest on is that they make sure that the user experience is completely translated into the other languages as well. So we've got Spanish versions, French versions, German versions, Dutch versions of the user experience, as well as the data that's underneath.
Given the majority of the competition on the App Exchange and elsewhere in other OEM solutions from within Salesforce, how would you differentiate yours from your competition?
I would say that some of the bigger players in the market are still standalone applications. There were legacy applications and over time moved to the cloud, but they chose to build their own platform, which I think is a mistake. I think the best decision that Job Science made somewhere around 8 years ago was that they wanted to move their application into the cloud, but to move it onto the Salesforce platform because of all of the other things that you get for free when you put it on the Salesforce platform. So the biggest differentiation, there are only a few of our competitors are on the Salesforce platform, but I think if you look at those guys, the depth and breadth of their application is not even close to what we've got. And with the help of Oktana, like I said, we're cleaning up this user experience so that it's not only deep and wide, but it's also easy to get wherever you need to go quickly.
Excellent, excellent. Great questions. So again, thank you very much. Thank you, David. Great work by the team at Job Science. We look forward to speaking to you soon. Cheers.